The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are back. New York Mets baseball in the zone. I'm Ralph Tyko. Bernie Rose just signed on. Robert Cole is here. And Marty Rose is here. We're going to talk about the most perplexing Mets season in a long time. It's been bad for a long time, but we had a handle on why it was bad. We don't at this point. And what I'd like to do is start with Marty and give us an overall view, and we'll get everybody's overall views and discuss them. Marty Rose, Mert from Florida.
Yeah. Well, look, overall, everybody is not playing up to their baseball card. You know, the pitching, the starting pitching has been not very good. Your 1 and 2 guys who, you know, were not a lot to be great. I mean, their history is great, but they're old and they're showing their age. Some of the other guys aren't doing so badly, but nobody's been very consistent. And you know, the hitting has been bad, just bad. People are hitting basically just over 200 and very inconsistent. And hang on, there's no 1 or 2 people to blame. It's everybody. You know, nobody is playing up to what they should. That's basically it.
Well put. Robert Cole is here, a fellow Met Maven, when I say Met Maven, you're a fellow Met Maven with Marty and Bernie. I pale in comparison to you guys' knowledge. You keep up with it in such a way that you make it clear, both of you. And Bernie's not far behind, even though he's a Dodger fan.
Yeah, I pale in comparison as well, but go ahead.
Okay, Robert Cole.
Well, Marty hit the key word, consistency. They're a classically inconsistent team. When the pitching is good, they don't hit. And when they hit, they don't pitch well. And, you know, that's just a classic sign of a not very good team. The most disappointing thing to me is that there's no it factor. There's no excitement. There's no jump in this team. And that's concerning. You know, some of their losses, they're very lethargic. It's like they just go out on the field, they throw their gloves out there, and there's no fire. And that's the most concerning thing to me, is there's something missing. And unfortunately, that's starting to look a little bit like it has to go on to the manager.
I was just consistency or lack thereof. I've seen them play great as recently as a week ago. They had just come off a 5-game winning streak, and it was looking good. And in a headbasket, Bernie Rose, why?
Well, I'm going to tell you that what these guys are saying is very true. Why a team can go from hot to cold, just like with the snap of a finger is, something that these baseball people have been trying to figure out for a long time. But, just like tonight, the Braves scored 3 runs in the first inning off Verlander, who has a 4.5 earned run average. And Nimmo has hit a grand slam, and the Mets came back with 5 in the second. So the Mets are actually up right now, 5-3. But let's see if they can hold that. The last 2 days they had the lead against the Braves and couldn't hold it. So why is a great question. But you have to look at these averages. They're just not hitting. Lindor, I don't know. He had a much better career average than he's hit for with the Mets, before he came over here. I'm not really sure what the deal is with that. He has seemed to be clutch, but when you're hitting 219, that's rough.
He does have a lot of ribbies and a lot of homers, and defensively he's playing well. 219 sticks in my head. You don't hit like that and be effective unless you're a Dave.
Right, but Scherzer's got a 371 earned run average. Verlander can do something about his because he hasn't pitched all that much yet, but it's at 450 right now. And if those are going to be your first 2 guys, they've got to do better, especially when you're not hitting.
370 isn't like it was in the 1960s. 370 is decent, and
not for your number 1 guy.
But he's coming back. He was coming back from being hurt, as was Verlander. And Verlander had that one lousy start. And
but these guys are getting $45 million a year.
I know. I'm talking like a fan, making excuses. Those are my guys, and I'm going to stick with them. That kind of thing.
Right. And the money shouldn't. You're right. The money shouldn't really matter to us. It matters to the ownership. I'm sure. But then again, they signed them, so that's on them. We root and we look forward to seeing a competitive or even more than that product on the field.
Yeah. One of you guys mentioned the potential change in managership, or that the possibility of management being blamed for all of this. Let's not start with Buck. Let's start with Epler. Marty Rose, do you think Epler is doing the job? Is he getting prospects up in a timely manner? Or I've noticed guys were going great for weeks and weeks and could have been called up and weren't. And the playing of Vientos, are they getting him in there? And is it time that Bogey bites the dust? Sorry for rambling, but Mert, I know you can take it.
Yeah. Bogey should have bitten the dust a while ago. He's totally. He's just not any good, frankly. And why they brought up Vientos and had him sit on the bench for 12 out of 17 games is really ridiculous. So, these guys should be playing. Should they have brought him up earlier? I don't know. I think you got to go with what you start the season with for at least a while. before you start making panic moves. That would have been considered panic moves if they did them a lot earlier, I think. But, now, the guys are here, except for Mauricio. He may be up, soon enough if things continue the way they are. But I don't know. The kids got to get a chance to play. They do, and it is Epler. It's not Buck, because the owner wanted Buck as the manager, and he wouldn't fire him.
Okay. You don't think, in other words, you don't think that Buck is a candidate for being fired?
No, I don't. I think they all talk about these things before every game. I don't think it's up to the manager every single time. I think they have like a group call before every game and decide, who's playing and where.
Okay. Beautiful, Marty. Thank you. Robert Cole, would you elaborate on that?
Well, yeah, like I said, the only thing that I look at Buck for right now is that there is just no spark and no fire. And, he was given a team, and, he's doing the best he can, but I've noticed sort of cracks in him, certain things that he's done that he didn't do last year, certain mistakes. Like over the weekend, I forget who they were playing, but they were up by 2 runs. There were 2 outs. The other team had second and third. The best batter was coming up, and the guys in the booth said, now would be a good time to walk this guy, okay, because it was the Blue Jays, and it was Guerrero was due up, and it was a perfect time to walk him. The guy behind him, Biggio, is having a horrible season, but Buck pitched to him and he hits a 3-run homer, and it's just kind of things like that he wasn't doing last year that he's doing this year. So, I kind of put those things under a microscope.
You know what I just flashed upon? Guerrero is a clone of his dad. That's the way I look at him. He's pretty much the same player, and a great player, and should have been walked. But I'm going to broach a subject that's who gets the job. And my thinking right away was Beltran. But if Buck is fired, would Beltran not be the logical guy?
They already went down that road, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but they hired Beltran back as an assistant to the president or the general manager.
They did.
And
don't forget the other guys that were involved in that. Both got jobs back as well. So you can't really hold that over his head. The Red Sox.
Yeah, so he would be logically the next guy. I would imagine you're right about that. But I don't think they're in a hurry. I can't see that. I don't think the owner, like Mert said, he wanted this guy. He wanted Buck, and I don't think he's ready to pull that lever.
Okay. Well, just wanted my opinion that Beltran would get it if it comes to that. And that's just my first shot. Him being on the inside assisting somebody, who are they going to give it to? Anyway, I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope they can turn it around. And I'll go around the horn this time, starting with Barn. What would you do to turn things around?
Well, I think he's doing it right now. He's sat, Alonso tonight, and he sat Kanha, and those are two guys that they look to. He's shaking it up. He's doing what he can. At the moment, they've added another run, so maybe it's working.
Okay. Beautiful.
It's 6-3 Mets, and it's second and third with only one out. Beatty just singled in a run. So maybe it's working already. What I would do is I would definitely look to, if there's any dead wood in that staff, if they have anybody down on the farm, I might bring up some more youngsters, like they did with the order, with the hitters. I think they've done what they want to do already. Now they just have to see if it's going to work. Unfortunately, they just haven't clicked. And then, like you said a minute ago, then they ripped off 5 in a row, and then they go right back to this. They have to get consistent. And maybe it starts tonight. Who knows? It's 6-3 at the moment.
Okay. What inning? If it's not the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, I'm a little concerned.
Well, I get that, especially after the last 2 Dodger games I saw before today, of course. But yeah, and the Mets too, because the Mets were ahead in their 2 games as well. But what the Dodgers did was even worse. But Kershaw shut them down today, and they won 6-0. But the Dodgers lost 2 games in a row where they had leads of 4 and 5 runs, and they have not, in the last 6 years, they only had 2 games in 6 years they lost by leading by 4 or more runs. And they just did it 2 days in a row.
I hear the frustration in your voice, but in the last 30 years, Barn, have the Dodgers been down more than 2 years in a row?
Not very often.
Right. So your
there it is. Okay.
You understand that you're talking to 3 Met fans.
I hear you.
Okay.
I mean, I used to keep up with them a lot more years ago. But right.
I understand. But no, I don't mean.
I hear you. And I'm trying to stay on top of things now.
They've been an incredibly great franchise all our lives. They've broken my heart as a Giant apologist, not a Giant apologist, Giants apologist. Anyway, hey, speaking of that.
The Giants did win 3 titles, though,
Absolutely.
In 5 years.
And they now have a stadium worth going to. And so they're drawing people on a consistent basis, and that keeps the wheel rolling. And there was no more beautiful park, and still is, than I'll call it Chavez Ravine. And for good luck. Beautiful park. They've kept up, keeps the fans coming in, and keeps the turnstiles going and the circle going. From money for development, this, that, and the other thing. You're a lucky guy. we're lucky too. We got Uncle Steve. We wouldn't even be talking like this if he hadn't bought the team. I just see a man who's basically kind of our age and doesn't want to do it tomorrow, wants to do it today. So I can see him making a change if necessary and when it's necessary. He seems to be a level-headed guy. He's not Steinbrenner going to fly off the handle. And remember, it's less than a third of the season has been played, or maybe a third, getting close.
Yeah, so, just about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have a chance, and I hearken back to my favorite all-time Met team, and that's the '73 Mets, who, because of injuries, Harrelson was hurt at the beginning. They got off to a horrible start. They were going to fire Yogi. They were going to fire Cashin. They had polls in the newspaper, and there are teams that turn it around. And after they won 5 in a row, I think I did a little blurb that the Mets, the worm has turned on the Mets. The question is, why did it turn back, and can we get it to turn again? Robert Cole.
Oh, yeah, of course they can turn around again. Just need a little spark. You win a couple of games, and the hitting and the pitching have to get together. I mean, they should have won even more games in a row because they had every one of their starters pitched a good game. All right, they went through the rotation. They should have won every one of those starts, and they didn't. With the Blue Jays, they had a couple of bad pitching performances in Colorado, and then they went through the rotation. Every guy pitched a good game, and they still lost 2 out of the 5. So, what Marty said in the very beginning of the show, consistency, and that hasn't been there all season.
Yeah, and the bullpen, too. The bullpen's been very inconsistent.
Well, you just look at Ottavino. Ottavino looks like a world beater one night, and the next night he doesn't. Same thing with Smith. Smith is the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the bullpen, there's a rumor that Diaz may come back before September, which would put him back on the. Well, that's not going to change, but he's making some remarkable recovery, they say. Question: do you want to rush him back?
No.
Okay, that's my. Let him wait till next year. In other words.
I say no. Also,
you go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think what you try to do is let him pitch a couple of meaningless games late in the year, if there is such a thing, just so he can get his confidence back and go into next year. But to rush him back, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you're going to have a situation, let's say they're in it, and now it's September, first week of, and he's ready, and you're just going to put him in a closer role. That's an awful lot of faith you got to have,
Right.
At that point, if they're not pitching the entire season. But
well, I hope the Mets are in a position where at least they're thinking about bringing him back. In other words, it could be an option, but long way to go. Okay, let's have a quick report card on the rookies. Alvarez, Beatty, and all. Start with you, Barn.
I think I like what I'm seeing, especially Alvarez, because it seemed like he wasn't even going to come up this year, right? Or maybe not until later, and things got rushed. And I think for the good, you needed this kid up there. I think he's looked good. Beatty, give him a little chance. He's looked good at times. I know the average has gone down some, but he's working on it. He's 2 for 2 tonight. Got an RBI, scored a run. The faith is there. Vientos, I don't know. He might have come up too soon. Although, as Mert and Robert have pointed out, and you, he's not getting enough playing time either, right? So it may or may not be his fault. So he might have been rushed. Alvarez has to be here to stay. The average will come up. He's got almost 10 home runs already. You got to be happy with that, no?
Oh, yeah.
Off the subject, we bit the bullet the other day with Alonso. That could have been a lot worse.
Well, yeah. He's day to day. He
He got hurt. Right.
He's going back to New York for an MRI.
Oh, maybe we didn't bite the bullet after all.
Well, the X-ray just showed a contusion. So they're doing an MRI to see a little better.
Okay. Marty, sum it all up for us.
Well, it's just nobody is, playing up to what they should. So everybody is like I said before, under what's on their baseball card. I mean, McNeil gets his hits, not like last year. Alonso's still hitting his homers, but his batting average is very low. Same thing with Lindor. He's got a lot of RBIs, but he's hitting about 220. Nimmo's playing okay. He strikes out too much at the top of the order. Marte has not been as good as last year. Canna is, he's what he is. He's just a normal routine player, nothing special. So, that, like I say, nobody's playing above what they normally do, or even up to what they normally do. And as far as the pitching, the pitching has been so-so. It hasn't been that good. What's his name? The
Cardozo,
Japanese kid.
Yes. He's
Senga.
been a little inconsistent too.
Yes, Senga has been good at home and bad on the road. When he's good, he's looking very good. But McGill, same thing with him. He's inconsistent. He can pitch 6 shutout innings, 1 timeout, and then get bombed in the second or third inning the next time. So, you just can't have too many guys like that.
Hey, maybe it's the pitching coach who's in danger of losing his job.
I don't know.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not his fault, but sometimes they do something like that just to, light a spark. So.
Right. Okay, Robert. Deadline deals on potential deadline deals. What would the Mets primarily be looking for at the deadline?
Relief pitching.
Okay. Is there still a chance of getting Diaz's brother?
Oh, yeah. Okay. As long as they're willing to give up Mauricio and Beatty and Alvarez.
All three. Well,
in fact, they could have them tomorrow if they, wanted to do that.
What if they could get him and only give up one guy? Who would it be of those three? Barn?
Oh, jeez. You're not giving up Beatty. I mean, jeez, that's tough.
Depends on the needs of the other team.
Yeah.
True. But based on our needs,
two guys, okay, I would give up Vientos and Mauricio.
Okay.
And that would probably get the deal done.
Okay.
Is he that good? Is that guy that good to give up both those guys?
I don't know how good he is. Yeah.
I mean, he's maybe a cut under his brother, right now.
All right, that's interesting. But I know you guys were salivating over Mauricio during the preseason in spring training.
Yeah.
I know you guys were going crazy.
But what you have to remember is Vientos doesn't have a position, and really Mauricio doesn't either. Mauricio is a shortstop.
Right.
Okay, and they're trying to turn him right now into a second baseman and a left fielder.
Right.
Hey, there's an old adage in baseball. You don't fall in love in the spring or in September with a prospect. That should be a message to we the fan. And
but you can fall in lust in spring and September.
And sometimes that's less expensive. All right, guys. Terrific show. You are the masters. And Barn, you're right up there.
Well, I appreciate that.
All right.
But every once in a while, that blue starts to show, Barney.
Yes, well, I can't help that,
I don't expect you to, and it is refreshing. So, thanks, guys. Great show. We'll talk when we do. All I can say is adios and happy trails.
Okay, later on.
Later on, guys.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.